Alright, today I'm replacing the head unit on my 100 series Land Cruiser. Just a quick overview, all the supplies we're going to need. Went with the Sony XAV AX4000 head unit. I like the clean look. It's got the actual volume buttons and they're pretty sleek. No flashy, bright chrome bezels or knobs or anything. So I went with that. It's the wiring harness that will connect between this and the actual car. It's the Metra 78112. Trim tool for getting the console panel off. Screwdriver. Will be soldering connections, so I got all my soldering stuff. It's nice Kessler solder. Heat shrink tubing to go over the solder. Got a variety of sizes, 1/8, 3/16, and 1/4. Just because certain solder connections might be a little bit bigger. And a heat gun to shrink the solder, as well as the wiring guide from Crutchfield, and I printed out the Sony wiring guide, as well as just kind of all these things what the wires are. Just put it on a piece of paper to help with that. All right, in the cab now. To remove the actual head unit, we'll start with removing this console panel. There's a few plastic tabs that hold it in. One up on the top left there, top right. Kind of work these sides out too. There's the bottom. Pop that out. And then down at the back, here all the, let's see if I can zoom in. Right there. Oops. Pop that back in. Down at the back are the harnesses for climate controls, so just pop these out. Simple. Set this aside. Next, you can see the 4 screws there that hold the OEM head unit in. Remove those. Try not to block your guys' view here. Sweet, then we'll just pull this out. On the back of it, you can see there's the factory harness here. It's a little sticky. We'll pull out these antenna cables. On the left side, and move that. Next thing we'll do, I'm gonna do this outside of the car. Remove the factory brackets, as we will retain those for the install. Okay, just unboxed the new head unit inside the box. So obviously, new head unit, some screws for attaching the brackets. This right here is a mic for hands-free calling. I'm not going to use that, so I'm not going to worry about that. There was this hardwired USB-C connection. Possibly might retain that and then wire it down through next to my scan gauge. These are the wires that will be connecting into the Metra. The speaker outputs, I think I need to use these, not exactly sure, but we'll figure that out. And then the Sirius XM antenna. I don't use Sirius XM, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, next up here, I pulled out the wiring harness. So we got the Metra right there, and then this one came with the Sony. First thing I did was align the RCA cables with the appropriate ones based off what it said on the Sony. So this is right front out. Went into the gray, And the gray I got based off of the Metra one, also is displayed on the back of the packaging. So gray is right front out, the white was left front out, purple was right rear, and green was left rear. So got those connected, kind of starting to see what the length of this harness is going to look like. On the actual Metra, you got your black as your ground, the red, I believe is the battery, or ignition, sorry. The blue and the blue with white are the power antennas blue, amp turn-ons blue with white, and the yellow is the battery. And then coming over to the actual Sony wiring, a lot of these I'm not going to need because it's for like speed, reverse, all that. So I'm going to end up depinning those from the harness. But so here's the REM out cable. So that will go into the blue and white. Yellow battery will go to yellow battery. Red ignition to ignition, and then black ground will go to ground, as well as this parking brake green. A lot of these new head units have a safety feature where you can't access settings while moving. And connecting it to ground will kind of bypass that. Not like that for every model, but that's the method I'm going to go with based off what I've been reading. I think Pioneers, you need to get that special wiring piece that will kind of trick the system. So I'm just going to kind of mock this up, look at the distance, see what the space is behind in the actual vehicle, and then we'll move from there. I should mention the cables you won't need from the Sony are going to be the orange, the pink, purple with white stripe, white with black stripe, white, purple, green with black stripe, green, purple, I think there's a purple with black stripe, and then normal purple, might have just double spoke there, and then gray and gray with black stripe. Also have those here on the Sony official wiring diagram. I just crossed out the ones I wouldn't need. Okay, I just really identified the technique here. So previously he had said it's kind of like pry up that metal. So yeah, it's kind of hard to see in there, but there's that little plastic black tab, kind of like, I'm sure you can see it in the middle of each slot. So what I've been doing is prying up the metal, if on the top, and then you push down on the plastic. So I'm gonna do this white wire here. Let's see if I can't try to show this. Yeah, a little tricky, but for this one, it'll kind of be first going down with the screwdriver. Sure I'm working on the right one here. So down on the screwdriver, and then kind of putting it in there and going up. So fourth one over. Yep. Or sorry, not going up, but pry that tab, metal tab back. Kind of push up on it once up in there. Press down on the plastic. A little clip that holds it in, and then just pull the wire right out. Okay, after depinning all of them, all I should be left with is the blue REM out, red, yellow, black ground, and then this green parking brake. Some of them feel a little loose now. I'm not sure if that's how they were originally, but we'll see how it turns out. All right, next thing we're gonna get to, I'm gonna trim up this parking brake wire. So I got all my unnecessary wires here, get those out of the way. Since this parking brake wire is not actually gonna go down behind the fuse box where it is on the car, and it will just be spliced into the ground, I'm just gonna trim this up. I'm gonna go about the same size length as where the other ones are. So got my, oh, I forgot to mention this with the tools, needed a wire stripper. So make sure I got the right one here, and just gonna clip that. Good, take this excess out of the way. Next thing I'm gonna do is kind of concept how these will all match up. So So this blue and white, right, will be spliced in with both blues over here. And then the green and black will be going to the black on the Metra. Hopefully you can see that, or you guys can see that. So I'm gonna get everything kind of prepped, strip off for soldering. Just gonna do probably about 1/4 of an inch off of each one, and then we'll prep for solder. Okay, prepping for solder. So from Crutchfield, the Metra came pre-cut, I guess from Metra, but I felt like I needed a little bit more, so I just cut a little bit more. And then with the exposed wire, I'm just twisting it, get it nice and coiled together. Do that with both of these. And then for these ones where we're soldering 3 of them together, not exactly sure. Put the 90-degree bend in that, as well as this one and the other. We'll kind of just like hook these 2 together, twist them. Those nice and twisted together, and I forgot heat shrink around this, so we'll do that. This is the 1/8 heat shrink. Looks like it should be plenty, so put that over that. And so don't forget that, don't make that mistake, it's the same mistake as me. Kind of straighten this back out. Twist. That looks good. Put the bends in. Get those together. Twist them together again. Sorry, knocked my tripod. Those are nice and twisted. We'll bring this other blue one in. Twist that around. Okay, so that looks good. We'll get ready to solder that one. This will probably be the only one I show soldering, but got my connections there in this little nice little holder. Got off Amazon. I got the heat shrink around one end. Looks like it's going to be enough to cover it all. Soldering iron is going. And then test to see if this is hot enough. We're just gonna melt the tip. All right, yeah, not getting hot enough yet, so give that a little bit more time to heat up. All right, soldering iron's hot, so it's kind of melted the tip there. Got some on there. I'm gonna bring the soldering iron underneath the wires to heat those up. And then I'm just gonna flow the solder into it. All right. Okay, getting ready to solder the last one. Something to note, for the ones I had to do either 2 cables together, or sorry, 3 total, but 2 from one side, or the yellow from the Sony, a little bit thicker wire, so I did use the 3/16 heat shrink around that. But I got the yellow soldered, the blues soldered, the red together. Now I'm doing this last one, just kind of showing you how I did the 3. So I got the 2 coming off of here, and then connected the 2 black grounds first, twisted those, and then twisted the green parking brake one over that. Okay, last step here with this part is just shrinking the heat shrink. So got the heat gun going. I got it low fan setting, higher temperature. Just gonna kind of see how this goes. So it's kind of that convergent kind of tip on there. Make it a little bit smaller of a spread and concentrate the heat a little bit more. Try not to melt my stickers here. Looks like it's shrinking up nicely. Keep passes on each side. A bit better here. Shrink that up nicely. All right. Oh, might have gone a little. Nope, that's just reflection. All right, let's got that first one. Let's repeat that on all the wires. Okay, got all the heat shrink shrunken over the wires. Kind of had to work around all of them, hold the harness in different ways to hit all the angles just so you can get a good seal with all the heat shrink. But for now, it looks pretty good. Next thing I'm gonna do is just kind of like mock up how this is gonna sit in the truck. So I'm gonna go play around with some different looks here before I test the tape this stuff together. But so far it's looking good. I did mention just a different size of heat shrink. Take your time with it too, really line everything up that way. Get the heat shrink proportionally over all the soldered parts. Kind of helps with the mock-up because I don't necessarily want to put a bend in the wires where the solder is. So next we're just gonna kind of mock up how it's gonna look. Okay, back inside the truck here. So as it sits, this wiring harness connect in like this, right? This black harness that plugs into the Sony will come over on the right side like this, and this will kind of sit over here. So what I'm thinking is I might do two separate branches with Tessa tape, but what I might do is put the bend here a bit closer. That way, see, I don't mind these bending back here, so they can sit, the soldered part can sit back and straight and aligned. This side with the RCA cables doesn't really matter, but I'm thinking this is how it's gonna sit. So I'll go get the brackets on the new head unit, and then I'll come plug it in, and I'll turn it on and see if everything works. Fingers crossed it does, because I'm worried. Okay, I guess I never pressed record, but back in the truck, got it plugged in. It's working so far. Something to note, the antenna did automatically go up. So we'll see. I know on the panel here I got my antenna retract, so that function should be retained, but just going through the setup. I'm gonna try to connect Bluetooth through my phone right now. Okay, so got Bluetooth connected. For Apple CarPlay to work though, I do need to use the GPS antenna. So I think similarly, I might just route that. I don't even just keep it behind there. I don't really necessarily want to route it down where my scan gauge is. I don't really want it routing around, so I'll just plug it into the back of the head unit here, and then I'm just gonna keep his stuff back there. But so far, everything fired on, nothing's caught on fire, so I'll call that a win for now. Unlike the Steelers last night, they got their wig split by the Bengals. Okay, so I did figure out for the radio, so the thicker of the cables from the car, these two cables as shown earlier. So the one without all this silver metal on it, so the other one is the antenna cable. And that'll plug in down here in this hole. Turn that on, was getting local country. Clint Black was playing, it's good stuff. So got that plugged in. This other one, I'm just gonna fold back and tape it up around here to keep that all out of the way. Alright, so take this off the tripod here. Kind of show you how I taped that up. I just kind of backed it over to where that foam was, and then I've got this fabric electrical tape. It's like Tessa tape, it's really 3M, but folded that back over. This will stay plugged into the radio. I'm gonna figure out a spot for the GPS antenna. I'm thinking it'll probably just sit right here. Let's put it underneath these so it stays secure. So I'm gonna get all that put up, and then I'll turn it back on, double check CarPlay works, and then I'll put the console bezeling trim, whatever you want to call it, back on. All right, this will kind of be the final look before I put everything back together. So got the USB antenna. Comes with a little sticky piece on the bottom of it. I just placarded that to there, zip tied the cables together. I'm just gonna have those resting underneath the climate control panel wiring harnesses. For the wiring we did, as I showed earlier, kind of determined this is going to be the pathway of it, and then I put the fabric electrical tape around there to hold the wires together. For the RCA cables, there's plenty of space below since it's just a single DIN up top, so I'm just going to have those rest under there. And then I've got the USB-C cable, kind of runs out and then zip tied together here. It pops out down next to my scan gauge, so if you know, if I have a passenger or something and they want to plug in for whatever reason, they can plug in there. Yeah, that's the final look. I'm gonna put this all back together and then show you the final product. All right, head unit is in place there. Gonna get all the screws back in. Start these with hand. Also, make sure that all your climate control wiring harness and connectors come out of the bottom here. That way they're not like tucked up and you forget about that. But get these screws started. And when I was plugging in and troubleshooting, what I heard was getting volume out of everything. Volume sounded good. Audio quality sounded good. I'll go on a test drive to double check the CarPlay functionality. I'll bring you along for that, but as of now, I might speed this portion up. Get all these installed. Alright, come down to the climate control panel. I believe this goes like this. Yep. Alrighty, we'll see how this all looks. Hopefully everything works out all right. Okay, well, we'll see. I just have to try to pop that in first. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks good. So, might have saw there a little tight fit getting up on the top, but yeah, that looks good. Plug this in. Should fire up. Yeah, good audio quality. I'm gonna turn that off just because don't really want copyright issues, but come to the home, Bluetooth. Let's see, all apps, phone. Okay, I gotta figure out settings, device connection, connected, change to Apple CarPlay. All right, sorry about that. When I switched to CarPlay, which worked, it cut out the video, but everything's working. We'll go for a test drive. Actually, I don't even need to do a test drive. I know it's going to work. So thanks for watching. Any questions, just ask me. Made this video just because it seemed like YouTube was kind of lacking a comprehensive how-to of how to do this from start to finish. A couple other good videos out there that I'll link to the playlist I use to reference. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever done anything electrical or wiring in a vehicle. Haven't soldered since high school. So really not too bad of a job. Took me about 2 hours start to finish. Thanks.